Hello and welcome to this episode of Creating with Howcraft. My name is Denise Yesbach Moore with howcraftcollection.com. Today I'm going to be showing you how to create braided wire rings. The tools and supplies you will need to create this ring are round nose pliers, wire cutters, chain nose pliers. You can use a ring mandrel at the end to help with the shape of the ring, but it's not necessary. We will be using 26 gauge wire. Today we will be using these 4mm raspberry dolomite beads. The little beads created with this ring are Korean jade 4mm. For this ring, I added a larger dolomite focal stone. You could also do that. A complete list of the jewelry making supplies and beads, along with printable PDF instructions, can be found on howcraftcollection.com. Search braided rings. We are going to start out by cutting two 12-inch lengths of 26 gauge wire, and you will also need a 3 to 4 inch length of 26 gauge wire. We are going to bring the two 26 gauge wires together, and we are going to try to find the center. We're going to place our round nose pliers right there, and we're going to bend it down. And then I'm going to come back through with my fingernails, and I'm just going to give it a little pinch. So we are going to remove it. Make sure your loops are lined up. And then we're going to come back over. And we are going to wrap 1, 2, 3, 4. So your wire looks something like that. And we're just going to squish it down. Come back over to the other side. Squish it down. We're going to trim off that one end. And then we're going to come back over. Trim off that second end. We're going to move that wire up. And then we want to make sure that we tap those little wires down so there are no sharp edges. Now we're going to come back in and we're going to find the side wires, and we're going to bend those side wires up. Now we're going to come down with the two center wires, and we're going to bring those wires together. And we're going to string one bead all the way to the top. So our bead is at the top. We're going to find each side of the center wires, and we're going to move them to the side so it looks like this. Now we're going to bring each wire down. We're going to bring it right to the center on that side. Make sure you're doing this to the front of the other two wires, right to the center, and then I open them and I come back in and I give it a little pinch. So our top wires have now become our center wires. So we're going to bring those two ends together, and we're going to string up our next bead, and we are going to bend the wires like so, and we're going to bring that wire around, and we're going to bring the other wire around, and then I like to come back in and do a little pinch, Now we're grabbing our center wires again. And we're stringing our little bead. And we're bringing it all the way to the top. And then we're going to bend those wires. Move this wire around. Move that wire around. Come back in and make a little bend. Grab our next bead. String that bead all the way to the top. Bend that wire down. Bend that wire down. Bring that wire around. You want to make sure your wires are on the front side of these two back wires. And then I like to come back in with my nails and give it a little pinch. So we're picking up another 4mm dolomite. We strung that down all the way. Make sure it's butted up. And then bend this wire. Bend that wire. And then we're going to move that wire around. Move that wire around. Come back in and give it a little pinch. Let's get another dolomite. We're going to string it down all the way to the end. And we're going to bend that wire down. Bend the other wire down, bringing the top wire around to the center, making sure that your wires are coming in front of this wire. Bring that wire around. Come back over and give that wire a little pinch. Dropping beads. String our little 4mm dolomite. We're going to bend the wires each way, making sure the front wire or the top wire is coming around the front, coming around the front, coming back in, and giving it a little pinch. Now we're grabbing our center wires, grabbing our dolomite, bringing that all the way up to the top. I want to make sure that bead's nice and tight. So we're going to bend those wires down. We're going to bring this wire around, that wire around, come back in. We're giving it a little pinch. Stringing our next 4mm dolomite. Let's see, we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. So we're going to bring those wires down. Make sure this one is crossing the top wires. Coming back in and giving it a little pinch. Now you can take your ring mandrel and kind of wrap it around to see what size you are at. I'm going to add our finishing bead to the ring. Once you decide what size you want your ring to be by kind of checking it as you go on your ring mandrel, when you get to the very last bead, we're going to pick up the 4mm dolomite, and we're going to string that down, and then we're going to come around it like we would on the previous, but instead of bringing the wires up to the sides, I want to make sure that's nice and tight. I hope my nail's not in the way. We're going to come around and we are going to wrap 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we can come back in and tap that down a little bit. Then we're going to bring the other wire and we're going to bring it around. And we are going to wrap it around 1, 2. And then we're going to come back in with our wire cutters. And we're going to cut that end. And we're going to cut that end. And then we're gently going to tap our wires down. So now we're going to take these 2 little wires and we are going to pass them through. And let's make a slight bend at the end. We can always put this on our ring mandrel at the end to straighten it out. Okay, so then we're going to bring this wire down and that wire down. And we're going to come back in. And we are going to wrap 1, 26 gauge wire isn't as thin, so it's a little bit harder to wrap. And we're going to do 2. Three. And then I'm going to come back in and I'm going to squish those wires together. I'm going to bring that one down to the side. And then I'm going to trim off that little end. And we want to make sure that wire is tucked down. Let's squish these again so they look nice. Okay, so that's one side. So now let's start on this side. We are going to pass the wire through. And we're going to bring it up 1. Two. I'm going to move that down just a little bit. And then this will be our third. Okay, so that is our third. I'm going to come back in and we're going to squish our wires together. And we're bringing that wire down. I'm going to trim off that little end, and we're going to gently tap that wire down. And then what I like to do is come back in and kind of flatten this area out. So you can see our ring shape turned out pretty good. This is how many beads? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 beads. Makes about a size 6 ring. And you can put it on your ring mandrel to straighten it out. And they're super cute. Pretty easy to make once you get the hang of it. And there you have it, how to create my braided rings. If you are watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe at Howcraft USA. Follow us on Instagram at Howcraft Collection Beads. Be sure to visit howcraftcollection.com for more inspirational DIY projects and for all your jewelry making needs. New beads are added weekly, and each week on howcraftcollection.com, we feature an amazing new sale. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time.